Hey, Miss Bridgewater, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
We had a case on Saturday's SEA where the attorney emailed me today and there was a typo on the bond order. There was two stay away addresses and it's really just supposed to be the one because the other one is actually the defendant's address. Can I send you the modification order for Judge Mincy to sign it, or does it have to go
Not a
back?
problem at all.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna email you what he sent me. He attached a motion to it as well. I don't think you need to file that. You just print the order, and if Judge Mitzi could sign that and file it, that way he can go home.
No problem.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, and I understand there was a misunderstanding on a null cross from Saturday.
That wasn't my case, but Miss Jackson announced that she was going to null cross something, and then she copied me on the email where she sent it to you, and then oh, maybe she must have mistyped the email or something.
Okay. But at any rate, it was taken care of and it was
Yeah,
just
we got it Sunday. Mr. Jordan emailed me and we got it to him, but I'm
right.
sorry about
Okay.
that. Sometimes
No
it's hard with
problem.
the Saturday crew because it's a bunch of people that aren't used to working on our calendar. So they
Yeah,
don't know who
it's
to
no
contact and
problem.
all
And I
that.
was waiting and waiting on Saturday and I never received it. So, but nonetheless, it's been resolved. So we're good.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So the email she sent me, it said Holly Bridgewater was CC'd on it, but I don't know if she could have spelled your name wrong or something. I don't know. Let me see.
No problem. Okay, but if
Uh,
you send me that, I'll make sure the judge signs it, okay?
thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
All right, we'll get started. All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Judge Mincy, and we're going to begin our Fulton County State Court Expedited Accusations calendar. This is a calendar for cases in which individuals have recently been arrested and charged with certain misdemeanor offenses. Soon after their arrest, the Fulton County Solicitor General's office has already accused the cases of the offenses brought against them, and the cases have been bound over to the Fulton County State Court. Nevertheless, this will generally be the defendant's initial appearance before state court judge, so we are able to address matters such as bond, possible arraignment, and a possible plea offer if one has been made by the state at this juncture. We'll be providing you with a reset date for SAP. That date is
October the 1st.
10/1.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that SAP date is October the 1st. And I want to begin by reminding everyone that this whole entire proceeding is being recorded as well as live streamed on YouTube, so govern yourselves accordingly. I want to also remind the defendants that you have certain constitutional rights. First, you have a right to representation, and you should know who your attorneys are by now and have spoken to them. I want to also remind you that you have the right to remain silent. Remember that anything that you state about the facts, the circumstances, or the occurrences of your case can and will be held against you. The state is here, they're listening, so follow the lead of your attorney. All right, deputies, who do we have first?
Good afternoon, Judge. We have Ms. Barrington Sanchez, number 4, here at ACDC.
Okay. All right, this is 24 CR 006517-7E. Terry Barrington Sanchez, charged at 1 count of willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer and reckless driving and failure to obey a stop sign. 3 charges. Pre-trial?
This Barrington, correct?
Yes.
18 total. Last arrest was in August. 2 counts of terrorist threats. 2024 felony obstruction indicted. 2024-2023 probation. 2022 trespass conviction. 2019 terrorist threats battery, simple battery first offender. 2018 reckless conduct NOLO. 2018 felony battery on firefighter conviction and a resident of Tallahassee.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. This incident took place about a year ago, August 3rd, 2023. There was an officer that was attempting to mediate a domestic dispute at 3964 Esther Drive. It's our understanding that address is the defendant's mother-in-law's address. The defendant initially called the police because she was attempting to gain possession of property for her child that was at the mother-in-law's home. The mother-in-law's name is Miss Gloria Sanchez. Miss Sanchez stated that she was frustrated getting the runaround from her mother-in-law and her children. So the officer contacted the mother-in-law, Miss Gloria Sanchez, who told the officer that the property that Miss Sanchez was seeking wasn't at her home. It was somewhere else, and it wasn't going to be available until the next day at 3 p.m. The officer relayed that information to the defendant. She was not satisfied with that response and said she was en route to bust out her mother-in-law's windows at that address. Shortly after, the officer was at that address, and the defendant came traveling south at a high rate of speed, driving through stop signs well over the speed limit in a residential area. The defendant drove past the officer, got out of her vehicle, and approached the front door of her mother-in-law's home. At that point, the officer approached her and told her to get off the property, go sit back in your vehicle until I can come and talk to you and gather some information and try to diffuse the situation. And at that point, Miss Sanchez, the defendant, she got back in her vehicle and then drove off at a high rate of speed again, leaving the neighborhood against the officer's commands to stay in her vehicle. And at that point, the officer took out warrants for obstruction, reckless driving, and failure to stop at a stop sign. Judge, the state's requesting $1,000 good bond on the obstruction and the reckless, and a $500 on the stop sign. So that's a total of $2,500 surety bond. And in light of the details here, the state's also going to request to stay away from the 3964 Esther Drive, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while on bond. Thank you.
All right. PD Cook,
Yes, Your Honor, we have no objection to the condition of bonds, but we just asked the court to look at this somewhat in isolation. It looks well, it's a misdemeanor obstruction, and the other charges are misdemeanors. So we would ask the court to look at it in that. With that regard to the prelude, we would ask the court to consider a signature bond. And again, we have no objection to any of the other conditions Ms. Desiano asked for.
Your Honor, given the defendant's a resident of Tallahassee, Florida, we would argue that she's a flight risk. And I would also add there are 2 open felony cases, appears out of Paulding and Douglas, 1 for felony obstruction and then 2 counts of felony terroristic threats. She also has been arrested, 2 other times this year, once for aggravated stalking, which was null prost, another probation violation. She also has a conviction from 2023 for criminal trespass that was reduced from a burglary. And there's a concern here, given I understand this is just being charged as a reckless driving and an obstruction, but given the context of everything that's happened here and threatening to bust out her mother-in-law's windows and the criminal record that this defendant has, we would insist on a surety bond.
all right, I'm going to order 2,500 surety bond, 1,000 on the obstruction, 1,000 on the reckless, 500 on the stop sign. Because of the history and the fact that she's obviously not a resident of Georgia. But that 2,500 surety bond, there will be no drugs, no alcohol, unprescribed medication, weapons, or guns while on bond. That's it for now. Oh, and I'm sorry, stay away from, is it 3964 Esther Drive?
Yes.
And no
Thank you.
further contact with the victim. Is it Gloria Sanchez?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you.
No further contact.
Thank you.
ACDC.
Next, we have number 3, add-on, Sabino.
Your Honor, can I ask one quick question?
Yes, you may.
We needed a Spanish interpreter for position number 2. Was one ordered?
Don't know. Ms. Bridgewater.
When was it submitted for a Spanish interpreter? I didn't receive an email for it.
Cook?
No, that's not mine. I didn't know about it. I'm sorry, Officer Norris.
Oh, boy.
No, no.
Yeah, Amaris is your client.
We're gonna need a Spanish interpreter for position number 2.
Okay.
Okay, let's see.
Position number 2,
Yes.
Position
and
number
who
2.
who is the attorney? Mr. Cook?
No, that isn't my case, actually.
That is his client, Your Honor. I mean,
I'm sorry.
that is Cook's client, Holly.
Not as far as I know.
On
I
the
take it
40
from the pull sheet, and so
Mr. Cook, is it, I don't know if that's Jorge or George Alvarez Ramirez. It's not your client?
no, I had no client. I talked to all my clients, so any client that couldn't speak English was not my client.
That is his client, Your Honor.
Jesus Christ, I know my clients, officer. Please.
McLean?
We just need a Spanish interpreter for
No, I
position.
I
appreciate.
need to make sure this person has an attorney, obviously.
No,
Who's gonna interview him?
It doesn't matter.
as soon as we get the interpreter first, and Mike and I can figure that out.
Yes,
Okay.
that's easy. Thank you.
I can put in a request for one and see if one is available at this late time.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, Ms. Champion. Uh, All right, ACDC, can
Yes,
you move that chair a little bit to the left for you? Just a tad. The name tag is covering the defendant's face.
I'm a little confused. What do you mean move to the left? Like this?
Yeah, your left. Move it over some. Believe it or not, it's covering. The other one, maybe just person was a little shorter, but
I'm confused, Judge. What did you want me to do?
move it closer to you. Can you move the chair for the defendant a little closer to you? Thank you. The name tag for Fulton ACDC is covering the person's face. Totally. Thank you. Who do we have next, deputies?
This is Sabino, number 3 add-on.
Your Honor, my information is that this is this young woman's first arrest.
What's your recommendation?
We're recommending an SOB through pretrial with a requirement for no contact and stay away from the incident location. This is an incident that occurred on the 15th, September the 15th.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second,
Sure.
ASG Allen. Let me call this case. I'm just printing out my add-on because I didn't see it. All right, this is Michelle Sabino, 24CR 000625J, I believe, 1 count of battery. All right, go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. So this incident happened on September the 15th, between 8:30 and midnight. It was a family gathering at 414 Dorsey Road in Hapeville. Police were called, and on the scene, there was a group of people in the front yard yelling. They had to be calmed down and divided up to try to understand what happened. The victim, Michelle Castillo, was seen to have visible swelling, a bruise under her right eye, swelling to her cheeks, both of her cheeks and on her forehead. She reported that during a physical fight between 2 brothers, I believe the boyfriends of the victim and the young lady in front of you, defendant Michelle Sabino, struck the victim, Michelle Castillo. They don't know each other. The victim says she's never met this young lady before. And she's not sure why she was attacked at this point. Police were able to speak to the defendant, who admitted being the first person to throw a punch and assault the victim in this case, Your Honor. And it's noted in the police report that she didn't listen to police while they were trying to talk to her and investigate, although I didn't charge her with an obstruction. We have spoken to the victim today. She actually has an injury to her neck, so this could end up being upgraded to a felony with medical documentation, but she's requesting no contact. She did say that they date brothers, and I believe brothers were fighting at the location. The location is the family residence of the brothers. So we'd be asking for no contact with the victim, Your Honor, Mrs. Castillo. I'm not sure about stay away from the location, but certainly no contact with her, and don't go anywhere where she works or lives or where she is. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
All right. Do we know who lives at 414 Dorsey Road? Who lives there?
According to the victim, it's the family of the boyfriend of the defendant and the boyfriend of the victim. That's my understanding, but maybe the defense can assist with that.
I don't know about that address, but the incident address, but according to the 3 card, that is not my client's address, so staying away should not be a problem.
Wonderful. Then we'd ask for a stay away, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. All right. And you're recommending a signature bond. You don't have a problem with that, Mr. McLean?
No problem, Your Honor. Thank you.
Can
Could
you
we
repeat that?
confirm with pretrial, the criminal history?
It's first arrest.
I thought you said, oh, you wanted to confirm. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
thank you.
All right.
Your Honor, can you repeat the amount?
Oh, I hadn't said it.
Oh,
That's okay. It's a $2,500 signature bond through pretrial. And with that, through pretrial level 1. Also, I'm going to order 2 days of anger awareness courses. Stay away from 414 Darcy Road. Don't go there. No further contact with the victim, Miss Castillo. Don't go where she lives or works. Stay 200 yards away from her. It's 2 football fields. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, unprescribed medication, or guns while on bond. And that's it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Yes, my apologies to Officer Saint Saran, the court, participants here. Jorge Ramirez is on my portion of the pull sheet. However, I was never presented with him or was never told he needed a interpreter. So,
Well, they've told the jail, I think, that they do need an interpreter. Is that right,
I
deputies?
think they're looking for one now, and then I would have to interview him in a breakout or some form.
Okay.
apology accepted.
Thank you. I'm having a bad day and it's only 2:24, so.
No worries. We have them all. And it's only Tuesday, so you got a long week to go.
I know.
So who next?
Position number 14, Ms. Patrick.
This is 24 CR 006522Y. Kiara Patrick, charged with 1 count of stalking, 2nd count disorderly conduct, 3rd count reckless conduct. Retrial.
Fifth arrest, 2023 ag assault, possession of a firearm during the commission. That's open. 23 CP 220265. 2023 FTA, 2021 death by taking conviction, and 2020 shoplifting conviction. That's
Your Honor, this is an incident that happened in May. There's been a warrant for this young lady's arrest since that time period. Her co-defendant has already come through first appearance. She is out on bond on an aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during the commission, and it's actually against the same victim in this case. So she's been out on bond since July of 2023 and has a bond order prohibiting contact with Akeria Weems. That's Akeria, excuse me, Weems, Weems. So the charges in this case from May of 2024 are direct violation of that bond order. In that case, she's on video pointing a handgun at Ms. Weems while standing outside of her home, banging on the door and yelling at her. They share a gentleman in common. This incident in May, Your Honor, police were called to a fight in progress at 861 York Avenue. This is again May the 2nd. There, Mrs. Weems reported that she'd been driving on the way to get her child, and while she was on the area of Lee Street, she heard her name being called, and that's when 2 women in separate vehicles, one, Mrs. Bell, who's already come through first appearance, and the other, the lady in front of you, Mrs. Patrick, pulled up in their vehicles. Mrs. Patrick actually pulled behind the victim and parked sideways behind her vehicle so she couldn't leave, while Mrs. Bell pulled up alongside the victim and brandished a firearm and began threatening her. They started videotaping themselves and posting this on social media live as they then chased this young woman throughout the city in the middle of the day, recklessly and violating traffic control devices and putting the public at risk, including putting Mrs. Weems at risk. So this defendant in a blue Equinox, I believe, Enclave, excuse me, in a blue Enclave, parked backwards, sideways behind the victim, preventing her from leaving, blocking her in, and assisted in chasing her throughout the city, while the co-defendant, Mrs. Bell, waved a firearm and threatened her, and this was all put on social media. This was investigated using street cameras as well as the social media, because these blatant individuals put themselves on social media as they did this, even though this young lady's in violation of a bond by doing so. We'd ask for a $6,000 cash bond, Your Honor. There are 3 counts in this case. That would be $2,000 on each count. Absolutely no contact with the victim, Ms. Weems. It's already ordered in another court order. So based on the fact that she refuses to follow court orders and doesn't care about the safety of Ms. Weems or the safety of the public in general, that's why we're asking for a cash bond. There's a risk to reoffend here just based on the refusal to follow court orders. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond, and no contact with her co-defendant, Shantaria Bell. And Shantaria Bell is already accused in case number 24 CR 0035551J. So now they both have their charges related to the May 2nd incident. Thank you. We've also spoken with Ms. Weems, and she's aware that this young lady has been arrested. She obviously wants no contact. Thank you.
PD McLean?
You are looking at the factors in the PSA, the public safety announcement. It was recommending a level 2 if she were to make a type of single bond. So those factors have to do with the past as well. The present allegations are concerning, and we recognize that, but we'd like the court to consider a signature bond, and if not leaning towards the signature bond, a low surety bond rather than a cash bond, something in the neighborhood of $2,000-3,000 as a surety bond would cause her to probably go to a bonding company.
And Your Honor, Ms. Weems is on the Zoom if you'd sound for her. I also noticed pretrial, was this young lady seen at first appearance this morning?
I don't know. I
Okay.
didn't know she had 2 cases.
Okay, I'll look. Thank you.
She received no bond.
No bond.
So she has a cruelty in the first degree and a battery. She just committed on August the 26th, 2024, and was at first appearance this morning, so has no bond on that as well.
All right, Ms. Weems, I have a couple of questions for you. First, do you wish to address the court today, yes or no?
Yeah.
Oh, you have a bad connection. Say that again. You've got to sit down for me.
I said yes.
All right, I'm going to swear you in first. Raise your right hand. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give, is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
All right, put your hand down. 2 questions. Are you in fear of Miss Kiera Patrick?
Yes, ma'am. Me and my child.
Okay, do you want to have any further contact with Miss Patrick?
No.
Okay. All right, that's all we need to know today, and I think you've already spoken to the victim witness advocate. Any cross-examination from either counsel?
No, Your Honor.
I don't have any questions. Thank you for being here today, Ms. Weems.
All right.
and Your Honor, I should mention my client has 2 children whose ages are 2 and 7. Thank you.
How old is she?
She is 23.
Does she work?
She has been a caretaker for a company that does caretaking in the home, private health care, but she is currently doing homemaking.
Okay.
Because of her kids' ages.
All right. Well, the first thing I'll start off by saying, her history is very concerning. The open cases are very concerning. And the fact that she's already violated a bond. So it will be a cash bond. It's going to be $4,000 cash bond, $2,000 on the stalking, $1,000 on the disorderly, $1,000 on the reckless. because obviously she doesn't get it. So, 4,000 cash, no drugs, alcohol, weapons, unprescribed medication, or guns while on bond. She is to stay away from the incident location if that's necessary. But the biggest part is, once again, to have no further contact with the victim, Akiria Weems. Stay 200 yards from her, which is 2 football fields. Don't go where she lives. Don't go where she works. Don't have any contact with her children, and stay away. Or else she'll just be back in the Fulton County Jail or stay here anyway. So, that's all I have to state for the order.
Next, we could have position number 13, Mrs. Miller. All right.
24 CR 006520C, Angela Miller, 1 count of battery pretrial.
Third arrest. Last was 2013, suspended license. Identity theft fraud. A resident of Albany, Georgia. 2010 FTA. Jail was a recommendation.
Your Honor, that's my case. This is an incident that occurred in April of this year, April the 29th, at about 1:30 p.m. The location is 77 12th Street Northeast. The victim is Mrs. Marley Green. She's joined us on the Zoom. Mrs. Green made a police report. She's actually a resident of New Jersey, New York area. She had been the victim of a fraud and had sent money to the defendant in front of you, I think about $6,000 for a business transaction, and then discovered that things weren't as they were supposed to be. The victim, Mrs. Green, came to the Atlanta area to try to connect with Angela Miller and went to where her residence was at the time. She saw Mrs. Miller enter in to an area with a key fob, and that is at the 12th Street address. While Mrs. Marley Green was recording, she and the defendant had a verbal interaction, and there's clearly a physical part of that interaction that's captured audio-wise on this video. You don't actually see the battery that occurs, but it's clear that something happens. And you can identify the defendant on the video. The defendant slammed this young woman's arm in the door at the location where she had a key fob to get in. Mrs. Green was seen to have visible bruising and redness and swelling on her arm. She made the police report here in Atlanta after being told by officials in New Jersey and New York that because the battery occurred here, she'd need to report it here, but that the fraud itself was going to be reported where it occurred, and that's where she lives. This was investigated further by APD, and they obtained the video provided by Mrs. Green. We reached out to Mrs. Green today. I'm not sure we had a chance to actually speak with her. So she is here on the Zoom. My understanding is that these individuals shouldn't have any communication and aren't in communication at this point. So we're asking for no contact, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. She does have a prior ID theft case, Your Honor. She received first offender, I believe, but it is like 15 counts of ID theft out of Oconee County. It is similar to what we're talking about here. But of course, I'm not here in front of you on the fraud allegation. We're asking for a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. And again, no contact. And if you would sound from Mrs. Green when you're ready. Thank you.
Ms. Green, do you wish to address the court today?
Hello, sure.
Raise your right hand for me. Do you affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
Yes,
All right, put your hand down for me. Are you in fear of Ms. Miller?
yes.
You want to have any further contact with Ms. Miller?
Nope, I just want to see her in jail.
All right, well, this is just a bond hearing. This is not your trial.
I understand.
So we will look at all the factors that we have to weigh for that decision.
I have
yeah.
more if I can provide that. There's a lot more than just the counts that she mentioned. There's a lot.
Okay. Well, we only have the charges that have been brought by her right now, which is just one count of battery. So that's
Thank
all
you.
that's before the court today to
No problem.
determine bond. So I do understand the other allegations that may be there.
Mhm.
And so you can get in contact with the victim witness advocate from the solicitor's office to have a conversation with them. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. McLean.
No objection, Your Honor. $2,000 signature bond seems appropriate.
I don't know. She working in Albany, Georgia, and is she coming back to Atlanta?
No, she's got people here, Your Honor. Her Albany's not that far away. It's right here in Georgia, but she well, if you want to get your mail here, you got to change her address. She does live here, Your Honor, but the alleged victim in the case followed my client to a doorway, which, as it says, she believed to be a residence because she was following her there. She didn't know if that was a residence or not, and followed her there. And it's unfortunate what happened or did not happen, but Your Honor, my client was followed, and then there was an incident. This would be the signature bond.
So your belief or her testimony is that she resides in here in Atlanta?
Yes, Your Honor. I can provide if she can. She uses this mailing address, I believe. Was that your grandmother?
My mom's house.
That's her mom in Albany, and she's used that because it's just a darn good mail address, but she could provide an Atlanta address.
Okay, you can put that in the chat and send it to Miss Champion.
I get this deputy.
Will be Miss Bridgewater, Your Honor.
Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Bridgewater.
Write your address.
Yes, Your Honor.
The deputy will send it in his chat.
Okay.
Who's the clerk?
That's clerk.
Yeah.
Your Honor, may I say something else, please?
Quickly.
Hold on,
And
hold on. Mrs. Green, you should probably speak to our victim advocate first. She's the person who tried to call you and you hung up on and were very rude to.
I didn't know who she was.
No,
I thought
ma'am.
someone was staying on my phone.
No,
So
ma'am. This is not the environment to just freely speak, especially given the circumstances. We'd appreciate if you just communicated with the victim advocate.
all right, that's fine.
And Miss Green, you know, I'm sure they tried to explain to you who they were. So I know you may be in fear based on what you've been through.
Yes.
And I get it, but just listen for a second. And then what you usually do, you know, is to say, give me your number so I can call you back. And they would have, because they do have numbers for you to call them back and verify it. Okay.
I understand. I did call back too when I realized that it wasn't a prank or something, because she's had people play on my phone before. So I had no idea. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. For this one count of battery, I don't have any counts on the fraud or the other cases, and those may be taken up in New York. I don't know. But on the battery, we have no open cases. Is that right?
That's correct. Open cases.
Correct, Your Honor. I don't see any other criminal charges.
Okay, so most of those are the fraud and civil and things of that nature, but I will order a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial. Now that we have an Atlanta address, I'm gonna put her in at level 2. And I'm going to order that she have no drugs, unprescribed medication, guns, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. That she stay away. Well, I don't know who lives at 12th Street. She does.
That was my old address.
All right, I won't order a stay away, but no further contact with the victim, Marley Green. She is to stay 200 yards away from her, which is 2 football fields. She's to have no contact with her whatsoever by third parties or anyone else. No emails, no phone calls, nothing. And she is to stay away from wherever Miss Green lives, whether it be in Georgia or New York or wherever she works. She's to have no further contact with her whatsoever. All right, that's the order of the court.
Next, we go to position number 12, Mr. McNutley.
Keep this.
24 CR 006521C. Is it Josiah McNulty?
Yes, ma'am.
Charged at 1 count of theft of lost or mislaid property, 2nd count of criminal trespass, theft of lost or mislaid property.
He got over 20, resident of Gainesville, Florida. 2024 FTA. Got an open burglary in Superior Court, 23 CP 220068. Open shoplifting out of Dunwoody. Open theft of property case out of Texas. Was arrested in Texas this year for assault causing bodily injury. That was conviction. 2024 theft of property conviction. 2011 ag assault burglary. Possession of a weapon by a convicted felon conviction. Another 2011 arrest, burglary, theft, criminal damage to property conviction. That's it.
Your Honor, this is my case. The defendant does have criminal history out of Florida, Texas, Louisiana, and Georgia. He has a Florida address according to the citations in the system and was most recently arrested in Texas. So there is a concern about ties to Georgia. It is interesting, though, that the facts of this case, at 4 a.m., the defendant was at 48 5th Street after having been issued a 5-year ban in June of 2023. This is the Barnes & Noble at Georgia Tech. So he clearly is known to that area and had been told that he wasn't allowed to return there previously. While being taken into custody, he was found to be in possession of the identification of a gentleman last name Ferretti from Kentucky and an EBT card of someone last name Ellis. And those are the basis for the counts of the theft of mislaid or lost property, Your Honor. Based on the history, he's got an active failure to appear from September the 4th, Your Honor. He was just arrested in Texas, August the 11th of 2024. We'd ask for a $1,000 surety bond, Your Honor, to stay away from the location. Again, that's 48 5th Street. That's the Barnes & Noble at Georgia Tech. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. The state's concern is the fact that he so easily travels from multiple states to multiple states.
So you said a $1,000 surety bond?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, 500 on each?
Sure. Actually,
Okay.
there are 3 charges.
Oh, I see. This mislaid, the theft of lost or mislaid property is 3, so, okay.
Thank you.
I think it was blended together on my calendar, so I didn't notice it was 3 instead of 2 charges. So, and the state is requesting a stay away from the Barnes & Nobles on 5th Street. Okay.
What North End program yesterday? What North End yesterday? St. Joseph's. Right across from. Oh, Your Honor, can I have a moment if we could?
Tell me again, State, what was his history?
This young man was arrested in Texas on August the 11th. for theft. He also got a conviction out of Texas from this year, 2024, for assault with bodily injury from June. He's got felony burglary, possession of weapons convictions, multiple burglaries and fraud convictions out of Florida up until 2011. That's where his current address is on the citations in the system. He also has an open burglary here in Georgia, 23 CP 220068. And so there are some concerns that he has just recently been in Texas. He is maybe homed in Florida based on his identification, but he also has open active cases here. So there's a concern that he won't return to court. He's got an active failure to appear and commit further crimes based on his criminal history, Your Honor.
Okay.
Ron, I have a question about one of the charges on his, 3 card. It's
Okay.
not, it's possession, display, use of identification of another without, it's not on the calendar.
I just changed it.
So what?
Theft of lost or mislaid property. He was in possession of an ID card of someone and an EBT card of another person, so it's an account for each of those.
So the 3 counts that we have are theft of lost or mislaid property, criminal trespass. I'm sorry, 2 counts of theft of lost or mislaid property and 1 count of criminal trespass. Those are 3 charges.
Correct. The theft or fraud kind of charge he came in with, I just changed it. It wasn't appropriate.
All right, Mr. McLean, are you ready?
Yes, Your Honor. He has a program that he's going to be going to for how many months?
6 months.
6-month program, and it's at a church. And he could nearby, I know there's a mail drop for people who are residentially challenged just down the street. This church is on North Avenue near West Peach Street. Just down the street from that practically is 420 Cortland. He could use that as a local Atlanta mail address if need be. But the Gainesville, who lives at Gainesville at that address, sir?
My brother does.
His brother lives there, so he uses that for steady, just more sureness to the mail. But he could provide 420 as a residentially challenged person who's here for 6 months to go through a program.
Well, staying here.
But last month he was arrested in Texas. So where does he really live? Texas or Georgia?
Well, he's going to be here for the next 6 months. I don't know.
Man, I plan to stay here in Atlanta permanently. The case that is open in Texas, was told I could resolve it over the phone. I've got an agreement with them to resolve it in absentia. So, man, I plan on staying here. I plan on making this place my residence.
Is he working right now, Mr. McLean?
No, Your Honor, he'll have to be in that program. Is it an inpatient program?
Yes, ma'am, and then I'm able to get it after 30 days, I'll be able to get a job.
Usually it's 28 or 30 days. They are just totally locked in, and after that, they can work. He has construction skills, Your Honor, that he's 43 years old.
I was actually supposed to start the program yesterday morning, at 9 o'clock, I was supposed to be there.
And I would emphasize that in the allegations currently, it doesn't say that he uttered the instruments, so I hope that's consistent with what Ms. Allen, excuse me. I hope that's consistent with what Ms. Allen had.
The actual part is a woman, and it was
I want the defendant to not talk. That's why you have the attorney.
All right. Sorry, ma'am.
And so, of course, we would ask the court to consider the same $1,000 as a signature matter. But of course, there's up your honor.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that he's gonna follow the law and do what he needs to do.
Right.
All right, I'm going to order a, let's see, we have 3 charges, so that would be a $2,000, $2,000. I wanted to do a surety bond, but if he's going into the program and he's telling the truth about that and he's going to do it, I'll give you a chance. So $2,000 signature bond. And that will be through the jail. So that will be 1,000 on the criminal trespass and 500 on each of the theft cases. So a total $2,000 signature bond through the jail, based on having an Atlanta address and going into an Atlanta program. Stay away from the Barnes and Noble on 48 Fifth Street. Do not go back there. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, guns while on bond. That'll be it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next, we can go to position number 10,
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, Henry Johnson.
10. This is 24 CR 006511A. Henry Johnson, charged with 1 count of battery family violence. Retrial.
22. Last arrest was in August for ag assault. Ag assault, possession of a firearm or knife during the commission. It's 24 PI 000952. Another open ag assault, 24 PI 005620. Before that was 2016 theft by taking, probation, 2015 obstruction, false name conviction. That's it.
All right.
Your Honor, this is an incident that occurred on September the 16th, between midnight and 2 a.m. The location is 1312 Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway, Northwest, apartment 1215. Police responded to a call about a dispute with a weapon. On scene, they spoke to the victim. His name is Rashad Wilson. That's Roshad. As he was exiting the residence, police were arriving and the victim was saying he needed to leave. He had a visible injury on his face, a swollen knot above his right eye. He reported that the defendant in front of you, Mr. Johnson, is his live-in boyfriend and that they'd been arguing over perceived infidelity or cheating. The victim reported when he tried to leave the location, the defendant began to assault him, tried to take his house keys from him and punched him in the face. The victim was able to get away and call 911. Your Honor, this defendant is actually out on a bond from August the 2nd of 2024. So just over a month ago, for cutting this same gentleman with a knife in his stomach. That's 24 PI 005620, an aggravated assault against Mr. Wilson, and he was ordered to have no contact and to stay away from the location. He also received a $3,000, I'm not sure what his bond is, I apologize, but it prohibits contact, Your Honor. When he committed that assault on Mr. Wilson in August, he was out on bond for a prior assault on another person from February of 2024. That's 24 PI 000952. In February of 2024, he made threats to kill a woman at a hotel and pointed a gun at her because he thought that she'd taken some of his belongings, and then barricaded himself inside of the room he was in and was just released in March, I believe, in that case as well. So he's now in violation of 2 different bond orders out of Superior Court. One just over a month ago issued requiring he have no contact with the victim in this case. We did speak to the victim. He reported that he and the defendant had been in a relationship. He confirmed the events in the warrant and again confirmed that there had been prior violence. He also reported that he found out yesterday when this gentleman was arrested that the defendant was somehow allowed to try to obtain an ex parte TPO. So he went in front of a judge in September and requested a TPO against the victim who has an active case where he's a victim of this gentleman. So I'm not sure how that happened, but obviously the magistrate court will have to deal with that. Your Honor, we'd ask for a cash bond, a $3,000 cash bond, absolutely no contact with Mr. Wilson. Stay away from the location wherever Mr. Wilson lives, and specifically the location where this occurred, 1312 Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway, apartment number 1215. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
All right, Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, my client does have this local Atlanta address, but he had only been, as the police report says, he's only been in the apartment a few days himself, and the other party had been there an even shorter amount of time. So I think that would be 1215 would not be the stay away place. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond, and if the court is not leaning towards a signature bond, we'd ask the court to consider something like a $1,000 or $1,500 or $2,000 surety bond. Let's see, he has a local address, he was born here, and even his relative that he gave me as his emergency is a local person with a 470 phone number.
He has 22 cycles and he's violated a bond already. Do I have that correct, State?
Yes, Your Honor. His criminal history includes.
Well, I
felony
didn't want you to read
convictions.
it to me again, but I just wanted to make sure I do understand the convictions and he's got 22 cycles. I was just trying to.
Yes, Your Honor. He's in violation of a bond out of felony court. For
Right.
stabbing the same man in the stomach in order to have no contact with him. Yes. And he's got an open aggravated assault separate from that for pointing a gun at a stranger and threatening her.
That one's okay.
Your Honor, may I speak?
Who's speaking?
This is me. This is Rashad Wilson.
I don't know who me is, and I have to see your face.
It says when I try to put the camera, okay. I just asked. Okay, you see me?
I do. I usually don't let people come to court with hats or rags or anything on their heads. Do you have a shirt on?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you need to turn your camera off till you put some clothes on.
1 second.
Your Honor, the Spanish interpreter is now on the line and courtroom 1 is now available with the Spanish case. Is Mr. Cook available?
Yes, I'm available. Yes.
Okay,
right.
I'll go ahead and put you guys in a breakout room.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, trying to join again.
Just want to remind everybody, these are court proceedings. You're in court. You may be on Zoom, but you're in court. You'd dress appropriately as if you walked into the courthouse.
Apologies.
Okay, thank you. And do you wish to address the court today? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Raise your right hand for me. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to receive is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, put your hand down. Are you in fear of Mr. Henry Johnson?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want to have any further contact with Mr. Johnson?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Do any other questions by opposing or by the state or opposing counsel, Mr. McLean?
Sir, he doesn't need to stay away from apartment 1215. Is that correct?
Well, no, the question should be who resides at 1312 apartment 1215 Donnelly Hollowell. Who resides there?
I do. That's where I'm at now.
Okay, that's where you reside now. All right, so he does need to stay away. Okay. And are you all still in a relationship?
Not after that incident, no, ma'am.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna go ahead. Mr. McLean, do you have anything else to add?
Nothing else, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to order a $3,000 cash bond because I don't like when people disregard bond orders and conditions and continue to torment or go around the victim when they shouldn't. And maybe Mr. Johnson will understand that we really mean he should not have any contact with Mr. Wilson. So it's a $3,000 cash bond. You're to have no further contact with Rashad Wilson. You're to stay 200 yards away from him, which is 2 football fields. And Mr. Wilson, if you see him coming, call the police. And if he makes bond, so that he won't be out very long. You're to not contact him through any third parties or anyone else. No emails, no text messages or anything. And you're to also stay away from 1312 Donnelly Hollowell, apartment 1215. Once again, if you see him coming or look out and he's at the door by chance, just call the police. Also, there will be no drugs, unprescribed medication, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And that should do, you should keep in touch with the victim witness office for the solicitor's office. All right, Mr. Wilson?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. That will be it, 3,000 cash.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor,
Yeah.
Mr. Cook is supposed to be in the breakout rooms. They're waiting for him.
Oh, I see. We have any other cases for McLean?
Yes, we do. Can we get,
Officer Saint Saran.
yes, Cook. We can go to position number 15, Mr. Smith.
Okay. This is 24 CR 006523 Bernard Smith, 2 counts of battery family violence. Pre-trial.
Smith, 9 total, 2024 FTA. Appears to have an open suspended license, window tint, aggressive driving out of Douglas County, open simple battery out of Cobb, open case out of New Mexico, aggravated first DWI, another open DUI. What else? Possession of a controlled substance. 2023 simple battery, 2015 trespass conviction.
All right, state.
Your Honor, that's my case. This is a delayed arrest. This was an incident that was reported in May of 2024. Warrants were obtained in July after investigator Muzon Hall with the DV unit at APD followed up. The victim's name is Ebony Walker, and at 1006 Michigan Avenue Northwest, police responded to a fight in progress. The 911 caller reviewed the CAD today, reported seeing the defendant inside the vehicle with the victim. Mrs. Walker was driving the victim and her 2 children were present. The 911 caller reported that the defendant was striking the victim inside the vehicle and refusing to get out of the vehicle. On scene, the defendant was seen by police now outside of the vehicle and standing with the door open on the driver's side where the victim was sitting in the driver's seat, screaming at her and irate. She reported that when she was able to speak to the police, she reported that the defendant had struck her in the face and grabbed her, striking her multiple times. She had a split lip and a chipped tooth, Your Honor. And she was obviously in pain. A warrant was obtained. She reported that they lived together and body worn camera footage was reviewed. And I apologize, this wasn't in a vehicle. I'm not sure. That is another case. I apologize. So this was at a location 1006 Michigan Avenue. We have been in touch with the victim. She reports they're no longer in a relationship and they don't share any children, and that the location, the Michigan Avenue location, is her residence. She did confirm what happened, speaking to us, and reported that there's been violence in the past. She would like no contact, and that's what we would request as well. This gentleman does have a failure to appear from June of 2024. His history is mostly substance abuse and felony drugs. We would be asking for a $2,000 surety, Your Honor, no contact with the victim in this case, Ebony Walker, and to stay away from the location. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. And I believe she's joined us. She may be Walker on the Zoom. If you could sound for her when it's time. Thank you.
All right, Ebony Walker. Do you wish to address the court today, Ms. Walker? Yes or no? And you must turn on your camera. That's you.
No, I don't want to address the court. I just don't want to see him ever.
Hold on, If you don't want to address the court, then you can't say anything. So if you want to say something and you want to address the court, I'll swear you in. But you can't say no and then start talking. So yes or no?
No.
Okay, thank you. You can mute yourself. All right, Mr. McLean.
Client is in the roofing business, which is very vigorous, hard work. He has 6 children, ages 17 down to 7, and range. He lives in Lithia Springs, so there's to stay away. There'll be no problem. He's born in Atlanta. He's local. We asked the court to consider a signature bond, or if not a signature bond, then something like a $1,000 at the most surety bond.
There are 2 counts of battery family violence. $2,000 each for $4,000 surety bond. And stay away from the victim's home address and work address. Just stay away from her and her children both. And no further contact with the victim, Ebony Walker, and her children. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And
That's not the point.
that'll be it for now. With his history is terrible and the open cases, so there's no way I would give him a signature bond.
No.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next,
Next, we can go on the add-on calendar, position number 4, Mr. William.
huh? 24 CR 006524H, Marquise Williams, 1 count of disorderly conduct. Pre-trial.
7 total. 2022 suspended registration. And driving while license suspended, that's no law. 2022 battery DV, cruelty in the 2nd and 3rd, not presented to grand jury. 2018 and 19 probation, 2018 obstruction conviction. That's it.
Your Honor, this incident occurred on the 16th, yesterday at about 1 p.m. Police in East Point near Main Street were responding to a call about a disturbed person who was running in and out of traffic. While they were responding to that call with sirens flashing and going through traffic, they encountered the defendant driving a city truck for East Point. He did not stop for police vehicles and then proceeded to lean out the window of his city truck and yell at the police about why they think they can do whatever they want. And you almost hit me. being disruptive and challenging to police. He was asked repeatedly to calm down and move along since they were trying to respond to a call about someone who needed help. He would not stop cussing at them and yelling at the police. He was even told, you may end up having some issues with your job working for East Point if you don't change the way you're behaving on the job right now. And that didn't seem to work either. So he was arrested for 1 count of disorderly, Your Honor. He has prior convictions for obstruction. We'd ask for $1,000 SOB through pretrial, whatever their recommendation is, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Okay. You have any thing else to add, Mr. McLean, for 1,000 SOB through pretrial?
No objection, thank you.
All right. I'm going to order $2,000 SOB through pretrial. And that'll be level 1. And no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns, or unprescribed medication while on bond. And I want him to take a 2-day anger awareness course through pretrial. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Your Honor. Pre-trial.
Next is to go to position number 11, Mr. Lewis Johnson. Say duty, y'all.
Daniel.
(24 CR 006510F) Samuel Johnson, charged with 2 counts of willful obstruction. Pretrial.
4th arrest, 2022 obstruction, pedestrian and roadway conviction. On probation for simple battery on a misdemeanor CWAT charge. 21 CR 006370F. 2018 criminal attempt to commit a felony arrest. That's it.
Your Honor, this is an incident that occurred at the MARTA station at 70 Hamilton E. Holmes yesterday, September the 16th. At about 5 p.m., police were investigating a report by one of the bus drivers there that the defendant had been aggressive and maybe threatening towards him. While police were trying to speak to the defendant, he fled on foot. Once detained, he pulled his arms away from officers and refused commands. He eventually also was taken to the ground and refused to put his hands behind his back. We're asking for an SOB through pretrial, Your Honor, and to stay away from MARTA, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. He is currently on probation in that 21 CR case.
All right, Mr. McLean.
No objection, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, I will give him the
This would be per judge if it's pre-trial because he's on probation.
all right. I will order a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial per judge, 1,000 on each charge. He's to stay away from the MARTA station at Hamilton E. Holmes. And gonna ask him to take a 2-day anger awareness course through pretrial.
That sounds good.
What level, Your Honor?
Level 1. No drugs, alcohol, unprescribed medication, weapons, or guns while on bond. And that's it.
You have a seat in the third row.
Thank you.
Next, we can go to position number 9, Mr. Jackson.
You said 9?
Yes.
Okay. This is 24 CR 006512A. Ella Hill Jackson, charged with 2 counts of simple battery, family violence. Pre-trial.
18/2023. Simple battery, 2 counts. Simple battery and 2 counts of simple assault. That's out of DeKalb County. 2016 probation. 2016 possession of a firearm during the conviction. 2015 battery DV, simple battery DV, hindering emergency call, first offender. 2014 trespass conviction.
Your Honor, this is my case. This is actually the case that occurred in the car that I accidentally started to talk about earlier. This is a incident from the 16th of September. So yesterday at about 10 p.m. at 2328 Campbellton Road, police were called to a fight in progress. The 911 caller specifically said that the defendant was inside the vehicle with the victim and assaulting her and would not get out, that her children were also present. On scene, when the police arrived, the defendant was still there and was now outside of the car, standing in the doorway of the open driver's side door, screaming and being irate and boisterous in front of police towards the victim. The victim, once she was able to speak to the police, reported that she'd been punched in the face and in the stomach by the defendant. She complained of pain in her stomach. He denied an assault. We have spoken to the victim in this case, Your Honor. She said that there were no visible injuries today as a result of that incident yesterday, that they do share 2 children, that there has been violence in the past, and that previously she's always lied and said that he didn't hit her when asked. I would note he does have an open case in DeKalb that you just heard about from August of 2023. It's accused in state court there. That's a domestic violence case. He has a 2015 battery family violence conviction out of Clayton County, as well as a battery family violence conviction in Cobb County in 2009. So the only reason this isn't a felony today is because there were no visible injuries that we could document. The victim, Mrs. Lisa Edwards, I believe is on Zoom today. We've spoken with her. She has requested no contact and a stay away from that location, the 2328 Campbellton Road, Your Honor. And if you'd sound for her when it's time, thank you. We'd be asking for a $3,000 surety bond, request that you include a stay away from the Campbellton Road location. And no contact, Your Honor. Thank you.
What's the victim's name again?
Lisa Edwards.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. PD McLean.
Your Honor, he is a chef. He works very steadily and full time. He intends to continue to support his children. Stay away sounds like that would be appropriate at this time, Your Honor. And no contact and stay away. His address, he's local. He's from Atlanta area. He still is. So he should have no trouble getting to court. That's everything.
All right, I'm gonna order $3,000 surety bond, 1,500 on each. I'm going to order stay away from the 2328 Campbellton Road. No further contact with the victim, Lisa Edwards, and her children. Stay 200 yards away from her. Don't even go where she lives or work. No drugs, unprescribed medication, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. That's it.
Can we do position number 2, the interpreter case?
Come on,
All right, hold on for 1 second.
We had some angles at the end of it. Go over the top.
Courtroom 1, you need to mute your mic.
Where, if you don't. I'll probably can do something. God.
All right. We have position 2 with the interpreter. Ms. Chancey. Can you raise your right hand? Please, ma'am. Do you affirm that you will interpret from Spanish to English, English to Spanish, the proceedings before the court today to the best of your abilities and with no embellishments?
I do, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, this is case number 24 CR 006515D. And this is excuse me. This is Mr. Is it Ramirez? And I don't know if that's George or charged with 1 count of simple assault, family violence.
Este es el caso 24CR006515D, la Fiscalía del Estado en contra del señor Jorge Almaraz Ramírez, con una acusación de agresión simple, violencia doméstica.
Pre-trial.
12 total. Couple of probations from 2021. 2019 FTA. Couple of arrests from 2019. Alien inadmissibility. That's it.
La Fiscalía en sus antecedentes tiene 2 casos en probatoria desde el 2021, 2 arrestos en el 2019 y un caso de inmigración.
All right, state.
Your Honor, this incident took place September 16th, 2024. The defendant called 911 around 3 a.m. to report that he'd been sprayed in the face with a gas.
Su señoría, el acusado, esto es parte de un incidente que ocurrió el 16 de septiembre del 2024. El acusado llamó a la policía a las 3 de la mañana indicando que alguien le había tirado en los ojos de spray de pimienta.
He reported that the gas blinded him and made it difficult to breathe, and he reported that he was sprayed by his roommate.
Él reportó que este gas le había enceguecido y que no podía respirar, y que quien hizo eso es la mujer con quien él vive.
The incident location is 4883 Roswell Road, apartment 05.
El incidente ocurrió en el departamento 5 de la 4883 Roswell Road.
Upon arrival, the police spoke with the defendant who, I'm sorry, strike that. Upon police arrival, the defendant was seen by EMS while the officers spoke to the roommate, who's the victim in this case, Sheena Fizzy.
Cuando llegó la policía, la ambulancia estaba hablando con el acusado y la policía habló con la víctima, en este caso, Sheena Fizzy.
The victim advised that the defendant came home intoxicated and they got into a verbal dispute.
La víctima dijo que el acusado llegó a casa intoxicado y que tuvieron una pelea verbal.
She was scared that the situation would escalate as it has in the past, so she hid in her room.
Ella tenía miedo de que la situación escalara como ha escalado en el pasado, entonces ella se escondió en el cuarto.
When she thought the defendant had gone to bed, she came out to resume doing household chores.
Cuando ella pensó que el acusado se había ido a acostar, ella salió de la habitación para nuevamente hacer el quehacer.
She then heard the sound of glass breaking in the defendant's room.
De ahí escuchó ella el sonido de vidrio rompiéndose en el cuarto del acusado.
She went and knocked on the door and asked him for a cleaning brush that she had left in his room.
Ella fue y le pidió a él una escoba que ella había, o una escoba para limpiar que ella había dejado en la habitación de él.
When the defendant opened the door, he had something in his hand and he lunged at the victim.
Cuando el acusado abrió la puerta, él tenía algo en su mano y se tiró hacia la víctima.
The victim had pepper spray attached to her wrist and sprayed the defendant in self-defense.
La víctima tenía spray de pimienta en su muñeca y le sprayó en defensa propia.
The officers asked the victim why she had pepper spray on her wrist.
El agente de policía le preguntó a la víctima por qué tenía el spray de pimienta en la muñeca de ella.
And the victim told the police that there's a domestic violence history between these parties.
La víctima le dijo a la policía que hay un historial de violencia doméstica entre estas dos partes.
She advised the defendant gets frequently intoxicated and frequently gets violent with her.
Ella dijo que el acusado frecuentemente bebe hasta intoxicarse y frecuentemente se porta violento con ella.
The victim showed the officers her bedroom door, which had been clearly broken and repaired from the defendant breaking it down.
La víctima les enseñó la puerta del cuarto de ella, la cual había sido frecuentemente y anteriormente destruida y rota y nuevamente reparada por el acusado.
The victim had also done homemade repairs to the door to make a makeshift deadbolt.
La víctima también había hecho reparaciones de ella caseras para hacer una chapa fuerte en la puerta.
She also had 2 dumbbells that she places behind her door to keep the defendant out when he's intoxicated.
También tenía ella 2 pesas, las cuales ella atranca atrás de la puerta para cuando el acusado llega casi intoxicado.
The officers noted that the victim clearly lives in fear of this defendant on a regular basis.
Los policías anotaron que esta víctima claramente vive con miedo de el acusado de forma diaria.
And the victim herself also told the officers that she lives in fear of this defendant.
Y la víctima les dijo a los agentes de policía que ella vive con miedo de este acusado.
She also told officers that the defendant has several bladed weapons that he's threatened her with previously.
La víctima también le dijo a la policía que el acusado tiene varias armas de punta que él ha utilizado en contra de ella o le ha amenazado a ella en el pasado.
And the officers did notice at least 1 knife and several other tools in the defendant's bedroom.
Y los agentes de policía notaron un cuchillo, por lo menos, y otras herramientas en la habitación del acusado.
The victim told police that she has been fearful to call 911 because she's afraid of the defendant being deported.
La víctima le dijo a la policía que ella ha tenido miedo de llamar al 911 porque teme que el acusado sea deportado.
Based on all of the factors observed by the officers, they concluded that the victim would have a reasonable fear when the defendant opened the door.
Basado en lo que la policía, en lo que la víctima dijo y en lo que la policía encontró, la policía concluyó que la víctima tiene un temor razonable al acusado cuando él abre la puerta.
When he opened the door, Ed lunged at her, excuse me.
Cuando él abrió la puerta, perdón, y se tiró contra ella.
And the defendant was arrested for assault.
Y el acusado fue arrestado por asalto.
We've been in touch with the victim today.
El día de hoy estuvimos en comunicación con la víctima.
She confirmed the events in the warrant.
Ella confirmó los eventos indicados en la orden de arresto.
The victim stated this is not the first time that the defendant's been violent toward her, but this is the first time that the police have been involved.
La víctima confirmó que esta no es la primera vez que el acusado se portó violentamente en contra de ella y que sí fue la primera vez que estuvo envuelta la policía.
The victim stated the defendant has a drinking problem and needs anger management.
La víctima indicó que el acusado tiene un problema bebiendo con la bebida y que necesita clases o necesita alguna forma de aprender a manejar su ira.
She stated she's in fear for her safety, but would still like to continue contact.
Ella dijo que ella teme por su seguridad, pero aún así desea mantenerse en contacto.
And she would like him to return to the residence.
Y ella le gustaría que él regrese a la residencia.
Your Honor, there's a serious safety concern with this defendant and this victim.
Su señoría, hay una preocupación bastante seria entre esta víctima y este acusado.
This victim has clearly taken it into her own hands to protect herself and does not want to call police for help.
Esta víctima claramente ha tomado el protegerse a ella misma en sus propias manos y no quiere llamar a la policía para ayuda.
The violence has escalated to the point where the victim feels she needs to barricade herself in her bedroom.
La violencia ha escalado a tal punto que la víctima se siente como que necesita una barricada y encerrarse en la habitación de ella.
And we would argue that this defendant is a danger to this victim and a danger for reoffense and a danger to intimidate this victim into recanting.
Y nosotros queremos argumentar, su señoría, con usted que este acusado es un riesgo para la víctima, es un riesgo para la seguridad de ella y es un riesgo para que él regrese con ella y le pueda forzar a ella a que ella se arrepiente y quite estos cargos.
The state's requesting a $2,000 surety bond.
La fiscalía está pidiendo una fianza de $2,000 asegurados.
Absolutely no contact with the victim.
Absolutamente nada de contacto con la víctima.
A stay away from their residence.
Una orden de permanecer lejos de la residencia.
An alcohol and drug evaluation and follow any recommended treatment.
Una evaluación de drogas, de alcohol y seguir cualquier tratamiento recomendado.
Anger management courses.
Clases de manejar la ira.
And absolutely no weapons of any kind, drugs or alcohol while on bond.
Y absolutamente ninguna arma de ningún tipo durante todo el tiempo que permanezca bajo fianza.
And if Your Honor can sound for Ms. Sheena Feast when appropriate, thank you.
Y si su señoría puede preguntar si es que la señora Sheena Feast se encuentra presente.
I'm sorry, Miss, can you sound for Miss BC? I'm not sure how to pronounce it. The victim.
Your Honor, the interpreter, are you asking that from the interpreter? Would you like me to sound off in English or in Spanish?
Sound off in Spanish. Let's see. I'm not for sure.
Okay. La señora Sheena Fisi, si se encuentra en la llamada de Zoom o si se encuentra en el tribunal, por favor, abra su pantalla, abra su micrófono y déjenos saber.
I know I treat you as if you only speak Spanish sometimes.
Okay, I can also sound off in English if you'd like, Your Honor.
Go ahead, that'll be fine. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if Ms. Gina Fisi is with us on the Zoom call, can you please turn your camera on and your microphone and let us know?
All right, she is not here. PD Cook?
Yes, I only speak English and sometimes not so well. But Your Honor, my client denies the allegations as stated in the warrant. He was sprayed with pepper spray. He called the police. He's 50 years old. He's lived in this area about 10 years. He's self-employed in construction.
And hold on, it's a mouthful. I know
I'm sorry. I always
Yeah.
forget. I'm sorry. Yes.
Ahora, de parte de la defensa, el defensor público Cook. Su señoría, mi cliente niega estos hechos. Él fue, a él le tiraron en la cara spray de pimienta. Él fue quien llamó a la policía. Él es un hombre de 50 años de edad. Ha vivido en el área metropolitana por los últimos 10 años. Go ahead, Mr. Cook.
Yes, they are renting it both at 4883 Roswell Road. I believe they're both on the lease.
Ambos están rentando la vivienda en el 4883 Roswell Road y me parece que ambos están en el contrato de arrendamiento.
At this moment, he does not know where else he would be able to go.
En este momento, él no sabe a dónde más podría él irse.
It's my understanding from the solicitor's office that the alleged victim wants him to come home.
De lo que yo entiendo por parte de la fiscalía es que la víctima alegada quiere que regrese él a casa.
For that reason, we would be asking for no further violent contact. We would ask the court not to impose a stay away. We would ask for the court not to impose an anger management courses or similar courses. And we would simply ask the court to, let's see, a simple assault, family violence. We would ask the court for a signature bond at the level the court deems appropriate. Nothing further.
Y en este caso nosotros, la defensa, estamos pidiendo por el acusado que dé una orden, su señoría, de no contacto violento en el futuro, que no dé una orden para permanecer lejos de la residencia, que no le mande al acusado a clases de manejo de ira y que la fianza sea únicamente bajo su firma, no asegurada.
All right. I'm going to order a $3,000 surety bond. I'm going to order that the defendant have no further contact right now with the victim, that he stay away from the residence at 4883 Roswell Road, apartment 05. Not to go back there while on bond. And no drugs, unprescribed medication, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. And I'm going to ask him to enroll in AA courses at least twice a week. And if he has any guns or weapons in his possession, he must turn them in to the sheriff's department.
Y el fallo y la orden del juez es la siguiente. Se le da una fianza asegurada de $3,000. La orden es no tener nada de contacto en absoluto con la víctima. La orden es no regresar absolutamente en ningún momento a la residencia. No puede, la orden incluye no usar drogas sin receta, no usar drogas, estupefacientes o medicamentos sin receta médica y no poseer ningún arma de ningún tipo. La orden judicial también incluye que se matricule en un curso para alcohólicos anónimos con reuniones mínimas de 2 veces por semana y que durante el tiempo que pase usted bajo fianza no puede tener nada de drogas, nada de armas y necesita entregar cualquier arma de cualquier tipo que usted tenga actualmente a la policía y a las autoridades.
All right. I think that'll conclude the case.
Y eso concluye el caso. Thank you, Your Honor. I believe
right,
that is
thank you.
all that you need from me. May I be excused, please?
Yes, you may. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, bye.
Next, we will go to position number 6, Mr. President.
You said 6? I'm sorry.
Yes, Mr. Charlie Reed.
Okay. This is 24 CR 006519J, Joel Charlery, charged with 2 counts of simple assault, pretrial.
6 total. 2021, possessing 400 grams or more. Excuse me. Group 1 controlled substance. 2012 suspended license conviction. 2010 resisting officer without violence conviction. That's it.
All right. Say,
Your Honor, I apologize. The charges you have, do you have simple assault, family violence, and simple assault, or do you have 2 simple assaults?
I have just 2 simple assaults on the calendar.
Okay, I amended the first charge to simple assault, family violence around 1:30, so it was probably after the calendar was done. Just so the defendant's clear that the charge for charge 1 is simple assault, family violence, and the count 2 is simple assault.
Okay, good.
Your Honor, this incident took place yesterday. Officers were dispatched to a dispute with a weapon at 2470 Cheshire Bridge Road, number 1522. The police arrived and they could hear the defendant yelling from inside the apartment. They knocked and announced their presence. The defendant answered the door and he had a Smith & Wesson in his waistband. The officer took him outside and disarmed him, and the other officer went inside to speak to the victims in this case. The victims were hiding in a bedroom. One was hiding in a closet crying. The victims in this case are Nalisha Satelli, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, and Sincera Jordan. Nalisha Satelli lives at the location with the defendant. Sincera Jordan is Miss Satel's friend who she had invited over that night. Miss Satelli stated that her and the defendant were at the club, and they came back after a night out, and she had invited her friend Miss Jordan over. The defendant got upset that she invited her friend over and started demanding that Miss Jordan leave the residence. He started beating on the wall and banging on the doors aggressively. And then he pulled out an assault rifle, Your Honor. This is like an AR-15, AK-47 type of firearm, and began threatening both of the victims with it. The victims were so visibly shaken up, they could not recall the exact words that the defendant used at the time, but they told the police that it was something along the lines of, "You better get out of my house or else." At that point, Miss Satelli went and grabbed her firearm and went into the room and hid with her friend until the police arrived. The officer did see a video of the defendant waving his assault rifle and the handgun in his waistband. However, there was no audio to the video based on the way that it was recorded, but you could see that he was waving it around and very visibly upset. Both of the victims stated that although the defendant never pointed the weapon at them, they were in fear for their life during this incident and very visibly shaken up and thought they were going to be shot. We've been in touch with Miss Satelli today. She states that these parties have previously dated, but they still live together at the incident location. They don't have any children together. She confirmed the events in the warrant. She stated that the defendant has been violent with her in the past, but she has never called the police. She states that a few days before this incident, the defendant was refusing to let her leave the residence and threatened to, quote, put holes in her if she did. The victim states that the officers took the handgun that was in the defendant's possession, but the assault rifle is still at the residence, and she would like no contact and would like for the defendant to stay away. We've also been in touch with the friend, Miss Jordan. She states that she confirmed the events in the warrant as well and states that she does not know the defendant, and this is the first time that she's ever met him, and obviously wants no contact, Your Honor. And Judge, he does have a a trafficking charge out of the state of Texas where the disposition is unknown. However, if that is a conviction, then this individual is a convicted felon and is not allowed to possess firearms. So this may be upgraded in the future. And Judge, obviously, this is a huge safety concern, having 2 firearms and being upset over a friend being over and it escalating to the point where you're threatening them with their lives and with an assault rifle is unreasonable. And it's certainly unacceptable. And this individual is a danger to these victims. And we would be asking for a $5,000 surety bond on each count, Your Honor. Absolutely no contact with either victim, a stay away from the incident location, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. And Your Honor, if you could sound for the victims, I believe Ms. Satelli is on the line.
All right, Ms. Santelli and Ms. Jordan. Do you wish to address the court today?
Yes, hold on. Hello.
Hello. Is Ms. Jordan on or no?
No.
Okay. Raise your right hand for me. I'll swear you in first. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
All right. Are you in fear of Mr. Charlery?
Yes.
Do you want to have any further contact with him?
No.
Okay. All right. Any cross-examination questions?
No, ma'am.
No. That wasn't for you. It's for the other attorneys.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Nothing from the state, Your Honor. Thank you, Ms.
All
Satelli.
right. Thank you. You can mute yourself. All right. Go ahead, PD Cook.
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 35 years old. He works in the roofing business as a kind of a self-employed roofer and has for quite some time. He's been in the area for about 7 years. He denies the allegations as stated in the warrant and states, and his position is that Ms. Spencer Jordan pointed a gun at him first, and that she initiated the threat, and he reacted. We would be asking. Obviously, we don't have any problem with the stay away or no further contact if she is not amenable to that. But we would be asking for a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate, based on the nature of the charge, which is well, I'm sorry, I didn't forgot it. It's been bounced to a family violence. So if possible, signature bond, if not the lowest possible surety bond. Thank you, Your Honor.
Can I speak?
Hold on a second. This is just a bond hearing. So it's about the facts or anything like that? No, but do you have something else to say regarding your safety or your desire to not have any further contact?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. I'm going to order a $5,000 surety bond, $2,500 for each charge. With that surety bond, going to order a stay away from the incident location. I'm going to order no further contact with the victims, Ms. Satelli, and Ms. Jordan, to stay 200 yards or 2 football fields away from those women. And he's to not have any drugs, alcohol, weapons, guns, or unprescribed medication while on bond. If he has any additional weapons that have not been secured by the sheriff's department, he's to turn them into them immediately if he makes bond. And I guess that's it for now.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Uh-huh.
Question from Mr. Cook.
Sure.
This residence is my residence where I stay with my clothes and, all my belonging is located at. So, as far as not being able to access the location, I am the leaseholder of that location. Mr. Telly actually just staying there temporarily, but I mean, how would I be able to access this location if I'm out on bond?
Mr. Telly,
Yes.
are you gonna be residing at this location?
Yes, for now.
Okay, all right, so, Mr. Charlery, I will give you a one-time law enforcement escort. Once you make bond, you must go back with law enforcement. If you see him there, Mr. Telly, you need to just call the police. He'll be arrested again. You're not to go there without arranging for a one-time police escort to get your personal belongings. While on bond, you need to live somewhere else. All right. Thank you. All right, next case.
Next, we could go to the add-on position number 2. Mr. Benning.
This is 24 CR 006526G. Gary Fanning, charged of 1 count of criminal trespass. Retrial.
19 total. 2024 possession of drug-related objects. 2023 shoplifting and giving false name. That's it.
Okay.
Your Honor, this incident took place September 16th at the Hill Aircraft, which is located at 3948 Aviation Circle Northwest. Security called the police because they had wanted the defendant to leave the property as he was causing a disturbance to their guests. The officer asked the defendant to leave, and initially he did, but then several minutes later, the defendant was seen entering the property again. Police escorted him off the property again, and at that point, they saw him walking down the street and thought he was leaving, so the officers left the scene. However, about 30 minutes later, dispatch advised that the defendant had returned again to the property, and at this point, he was issued a criminal trespass warning and asked to leave again. And he was argumentative and non-compliant with the officers and refused to leave at that point, and he was arrested. Your Honor, he does not have any prior convictions for criminal trespass. The state is requesting a signature bond through the jail, a stay away from that Hill Aircraft location, and no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while on bond.
All right, any objection, PD Cook?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, that will be a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. Stay away from, is it Hill Aircraft?
Yes, Your Honor. Hill Aircraft at 3948 Aviation Circle.
On Aviation Circle, stay away from there, sir. And no drugs, alcohol, weapons, guns, or unprescribed medication while on bond. That's it.
Here we go.
Next, we will go to position number 5, Mr. King.
This is 24 CR 006518C. Karen Kane, charged with 1 count of battery family violence. Retrial.
9th arrest. 2024 simple battery. But I got an open battery DV in state court. History out of Louisiana, domestic abuse battery, and a bench warrant. 2018 suspended license. 2015 and 16 contempt of court. That's it.
Okay.
Your Honor, this incident took place yesterday, September 16th. Incident location is 3041 Landrum Drive, Southwest Apartment 36B. Officers responded to a domestic dispute there. The victim is the defendant's boyfriend, Marvin High. He stated that the defendant damaged his rental vehicle, and when he went to confront him about the damage, the defendant got aggressive and attacked him and bit him. The officer observed bite marks to the victim's arm. Your Honor, we have been in touch with Mr. High today. He states that they were in a relationship and living together at the incident location. However, he's done with this relationship and wants no contact and a stay away. Defendant needs a one-time law enforcement escort. Your Honor, notably, the open case is a battery DV case against Mr. High, same victim. And not only is he in violation of his bond, Your Honor, it's actually your bond. You ordered him to have absolutely no contact with Mr. High and a stay away from that same incident location. In the battery DV case that's open, the victim in this case, Mr. High, was also arrested. It was a dual arrest case, and he's also in violation of your bond because you ordered him to have no contact. However, he was permitted to stay in the residence because it was his. And so at this point, Your Honor, this defendant's in violation of his bond and your bond and has been living at this location since you entered that order in May. So we would be asking for a $2,500 cash bond, Your Honor, absolutely no contact with Mr. High, a stay away from the incident location, 3042 Landrum Drive, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. And if Your Honor can sound for Mr. High.
All right, Mr. High. Mr. High,
Yes, ma'am.
do you wish to address the court today?
Sure.
Turn on your camera. Raise your right hand for me. Do you affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, put your hand down. Do you want to have any further contact with Mr. Kane?
Yes, ma'am. Contact is not a problem.
Are you in fear of Mr. Kane?
No, ma'am.
Well, I think you all been having a problem. When you have contact, what happens? Doesn't seem to be positive contact. And I don't like people coming back who violated my bonds.
I understand. He had a rough day yesterday, to my understanding. This incident happened so quickly, I really didn't even recover everything that actually happened. And it just got out of hand. That simple as that. I have, just so he knows, I've contacted his job. Well, they actually contacted me, so he's okay at work.
Not discussing that. Well, when people have a bad day, they don't come home and act a nut with everybody in the house. Supposed to stay calm. I don't know that you guys can do that. Because you're back here already, May. This is September.
I understand.
So, whose name is this apartment in? I didn't hear you.
It's mine.
It's in your name? Okay. All right. You violate my bonds. I'm going to order cash bond and let me go ahead. Mr. Cook, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Honor, can I ask the victim a couple questions?
Sure.
Mr. High, you're aware that part of your bond conditions is to have no further contact with Mr. Kane, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And he's been living at your address for how long?
In total, since we pretty much got together. So
And how
about
long? When was that?
December.
Of 2023?
So you all just ignored my bonds, huh?
We didn't
Mr.
ignore.
Kane shaking his head no, but I beg to differ, but we're not gonna hear from Mr. Kane. But okay.
Okay, Mr. High, did you call the police yesterday?
I did.
Okay, nothing further, Your Honor.
Kitty Cook.
Nothing for the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, I'm going to
Your
order.
Honor,
Go ahead.
Okay, my client is 30 years old. It's hard to determine who is at fault here. By his own admission, the alleged victim here was in violation of a previous bond. My client is a multi-unit manager for Smoothie King. So he has a fairly significant job he would like to protect. He has no problem at all with no further contact and stay away. He has somewhere else he can go. We would like the court to consider I think he's probably ineligible for the signature bond. I'm never quite sure. But we would ask the court to give a surety bond as low as possible, avoid the cash bond. He needs to get out and get back to work. It seems to me like at best or at worst, depending on your position, it's who ran to the phone first. So I would hate to see him have his job jeopardized in any way. And again, I think he wants the relationship with this alleged victim, and I emphasize alleged, to come to an end. He has elsewhere to go, and he has a important job, and we want to see him get out and get back to work.
Well, I don't think he wants you to say anything, Mr. Kane, so put your hand down so that I can give my ruling. Well, normally I do a cash bond. And I'm assuming you're gonna tell me Mr. Kane doesn't have any cash, but somebody has to be the bigger person here, the stronger person. And stop the madness. And I don't
Your Honor,
know.
there's no violence alleged at this point between, as far as it relates to Mr. High. I think Mr. Cook's trying to make the argument that they're both somehow culpable here. And in this case, the allegation is that the victim got home. He realized that his rental car that he had let his boyfriend use was damaged, and he confronted him about the damage, and the defendant bit him when he's under order to have no contact, and the defendant has been previously ordered to stay away.
Right, but it sounds like the victim saying he let him come there voluntarily. I don't know if he busted in and said, I'm gonna stay here, or that was the first day he was there. I think, like you said, they're both in violation of mine.
Well, Your Honor, we would argue that perhaps the victim today doesn't know it's in his best interest right now, and these folks don't need to have any contact, period, because clearly there's an issue here of violence that keeps happening between them, and the police keep getting involved. And now at this point, the defendant's been arrested 2 times for battering Mr. High.
Your Honor, we have no objection to no further contact and stay away. We're just arguing the amount and type of bond. My client doesn't want anything further to do with Mr. High.
Well, I hope he can stay away. That's my dilemma, is the type, whether I should do cash versus a very high surety. And what it's gonna take for these parties to not interact and not keep coming down to the Fulton County Jail.
I did speak with my client about the general situation given his employment position, which is pretty impressive, and he agreed that this needs to end. Just the relationship. He's got too much to lose here. I don't know what Mr. High does, but my client is a multi-unit manager for Smoothie King, which is a fairly impressive position.
Yeah, well, he needs to care about it a little bit more. I'm going to give him a $10,000 surety bond. But that $10,000 surety bond, going to order him, and I mean order him to stay away from 3041 Landrum Drive. Don't go back there, because it obviously doesn't bode well for him, because he ends up in jail. So with that surety bond, stay away, no further contact with Mr. Marvin High. Need to stay 200 yards away from him. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, unprescribed medication, or guns while on bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Next.
We can go to add-on position number 1, Mr. Cisse.
This is 24 CR 006527G. Serene Cisse 1 count of battery family violence pretrial.
8 total, 06 probation, 04 DUI, homicide by vehicle, first degree conviction.
State.
Your Honor, this incident happened yesterday. Officers responded to a domestic dispute at 6595 Camp Valley Road in South Fulton. The victim in this case is Trina Felton. She states that she and the defendant were previously in a relationship. They were arguing about their separation. There was apparently an argument over whether or not the defendant's mother is going to continue living at the incident location now that the defendant has moved out. The victim states that they were arguing when the defendant grabbed her and punched her several times, leaving knots on her forehead. The defendant told police that he hit Miss Felton because he felt like she was going to attack his mother, and he claimed that the victim hit him first. However, police determined that he was the primary aggressor. The mother was also there and witnessed both of the defendant and the victim arguing, and she states that it got physical, and she tried to intervene and break them up and actually ended up falling on the floor, but she did not have any injuries. And we've been in touch with Miss Felton today. She states that these parties are no longer in a relationship. They no longer live together at the incident location, and they don't have any children together. She states that the defendant moved out about 2 weeks ago. She confirmed the events in the warrant. She states this is the first time anything like this has ever happened, and she's not in fear of him and is okay with having contact. And she states she's okay with the defendant coming to the residence. However, he doesn't live there. And I believe, Your Honor, that she may be on the Zoom. Judge, I'm showing his last arrest was back in 2006. The state's requesting a signature bond through pretrial services, no further violent contact with the victim, Ms. Felton, anger awareness courses, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. And if Your Honor can sound for Ms. Felton, thank you.
Ms. Felton? Trina Felton?
I'm here.
Do you wish to address the court today?
No.
All right, thank you. PD Cook, do you have any problems with the signature bond, the pretrial?
No objection to that, Your Honor. We would object to the anger awareness course.
All right. I'm going to order $3,000 signature bond through pretrial for judge, level 1. And I'm going to order stay away from the 6595 Camp Valley Road. No further violent contact with Trina Felton. I'm going to order 2-day anger awareness course through pretrial. And no drugs, alcohol, weapons, guns, unprescribed medication while on bond. If he has any weapons, he needs to turn them over to the sheriff's department. But I'm doing the no further violent contact because it's what the victim requests. Otherwise, I do no further contact. But let's see what happens.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next, we could go to position number 7, Mr. Gray.
It's 24 CR 006514F, Martavius Gray. Charged 1 count of pointing or aiming a gun or a pistol at another. Pretrial.
Fourth arrest, 2020 fleeing, suspended license, aggressive driver. Dismissed, 2019 battery DV, simple battery PTI, and 2018 false statement.
Right.
Your Honor, this incident took place yesterday at the GSU campus, specifically 141 Piedmont Avenue. That is the University Commons, also known as like where dorms are, where lots of people live. An officer observed the defendant involved in a verbal altercation with several unknown males in front of the University Commons. And during that altercation, the defendant went around to the driver's side of his parked vehicle, pulled out a gun and pointed it in the direction of the male group that he was fighting with verbally. And at that point, the defendant tried to get in his vehicle and flee the scene. However, officers on scene who witnessed this entire thing stopped him from leaving and arrested him. Your Honor, this is a serious safety concern. Again, it's a firearm situation. You have someone who's pointing a gun at people who are unarmed. You have an officer who witnessed this entire altercation. And this incident happened on a college campus where hundreds of people live. And we'd ask the court take the seriousness of what's happened here into consideration when determining bond. We're asking for a $10,000 surety bond, Your Honor, a stay away from the University Commons at 141 Piedmont Avenue, preferably a stay away from the entire GSU campus, Your Honor. However, if you're not inclined to do that, then to stay away from the University Commons at least. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. Thank you.
And do we have a particular victim? Yes or no?
No, Your Honor, that's the only reason that this case is not a felony, because we don't have a specific victim to charge for aggravated assault. They're all unknown at this time. However, of course, if later investigation reveals the identity of these folks, then this case will likely be upgraded.
All right, do we know if he's a student or not, Mr. Cook?
No, Your Honor, he is, he works in the delivery business. He works for Amazon. He was doing DoorDash at the time at that location. Delivering DoorDash to that location.
All right. Anything else to add?
Yes, he's 24 years old. He's lived in the Atlanta area his entire life. He works primarily for Amazon delivery and has been doing that for a few months, but he does DoorDash when he can. He was making a delivery there. There was some kind of confrontation with a group of people at that location, an emphasized group. His position is he was acting in self-defense. His income is fairly modest, Your Honor, and we would ask the court to keep the bond as low as possible. We would object to stay away from GSU because it's all over the place in Atlanta, so it'd be very difficult for him to function in either one of his jobs and stay strictly away from the Georgia State campus because it's so spread out.
And Judge, as far as self-defense goes, I just remind the court, the officers who saw this entire thing happen, and there are plenty of times when officers don't arrest someone when they're acting in self-defense. And according to the officer's opinion of what happened with his own eyes and what he saw, he did not feel it was a self-defense issue.
All right. And what was the state's recommendation again?
$10,000 surety bond, Your Honor. Stay away from GSU campus. If you're not inclined to do the whole campus, then at least the University Commons at 141 Piedmont Avenue. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond.
All right. I will order that $10,000 surety bond. And I'm going to order him to stay away from the University Commons, to have no more deliveries there. If he's going to be delivering food and things to people, stay on your best behavior. And no drugs, alcohol, weapons, guns, or unprescribed medication while on bond. Guess he's gone. Okay. Next.
We can move on to position number 3, Mr. Mathis.
You said 3?
Position 3.
(24 CR 0065168) Tamonte, is it Bacchus?
Yes, ma'am.
2 counts of theft by taking. Pre-trial.
Second arrest. Got an open theft by receiving obstruction out of College Park. That's it.
All right.
Your Honor, this incident happened September 9th, 2024 at the Georgia Tech campus, specifically the Clough Student Learning Center. There's a bike rack in front of that learning center. The defendant is seen removing 2 electric scooters belonging to 2 Georgia Tech students, Zan Dong and Moal Fernandez, and then took those scooters to the North Avenue MARTA station, where he admitted that he sold them for profit to a gentleman named Tayshawn Jackson. And then on the 16th of September, Your Honor, the defendant came back to the bike rack and attempted to steal another scooter, and he was apprehended at that time. Given his open theft case, Your Honor, the state would request a $1,000 surety bond on each count, a stay away from Georgia Tech campus, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. And Your Honor, I believe that he already has a $2,000 surety bond according to the jailing screen. So we would just ask that it remain as currently set. Thank you.
All right. Diddy Cook.
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 18 years old. She's lived his entire life. He is getting his GED at the moment. Given the nature of the charge, given his lack of income, we would be seeking a surety bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate.
All right, $2,000 surety bond, 1,000 on each count. Stay away from Georgia Tech. It's a very vast, broad area of downtown Atlanta. Stay away from anything that says Georgia Tech on it. No drugs, alcohol, weapons or guns, unprescribed medication while on bond. 2,000 surety, and stay away from Georgia Tech.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we can go to position number 1, Mr. Abati.
24 CR 006513Y, Khalil Abbasi, charge of 1 count of battery, family violence, a 2nd count of cruelty to children, and 3rd. Retrial.
First.
State.
Your Honor, this incident took place yesterday. Officers responded to a domestic dispute at 550 Abernathy Road, apartment R771. The victim in this case is the defendant's wife, Danya Rahimi. She stated that she and the defendant were in an argument over something with their child's bottle. The victim got upset. She said an argument started and the defendant elbowed her. The victim had red marks on her arm and chest and also stated she had a mark on the inside of her lip. Officers spoke to the defendant and he admitted to elbowing her. We've been in touch with the victim today. She states these parties are married. They live together at the incident location. They have 1 child. Oh, and Your Honor, the baby initials MA was present. That's the basis for the cruelty charge. She states that things happened so fast, she can't remember everything that happened. She said nothing like this has ever happened before. She said they just had a baby and things have been stressful. She states she's not in fear and wants to continue contact and would like for him to return to the residence. This is his first arrest, Your Honor. State's requesting a signature bond through pretrial services, no further violent contact with Miss Rahimi, anger awareness courses, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. And Your Honor, I believe the victim's on the line on Dunya's iPhone.
All right, Ms. Rahimi, do you wish to address the court today? Yes or no? Do you wish to address the court today? Yes or no? Can't hear you.
Hello?
Do you wish to address the court today? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, this is a bond hearing. This is not your trial. Are you, and I'll ask you a few questions. Raise your right hand so I can swear you in. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
All right, put your hand down. Are you in fear of Mr. Abbasi?
No.
Do you want to have any further contact with him?
I do want contact with him.
How old is your child?
She just turned 2 months old on 15th of May. I mean, sorry, 15th of this month.
That's your first child?
Yes, it's our first child.
All right. I don't have any other questions. Do you all?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Nothing from defense, Your Honor.
All right, you can mute yourself. We'll continue on with the trial and I'll give my ruling in a moment, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. PD Cook.
Yes, Your Honor, we would have no objection to the state's recommendation except to the specific request for anger management. We would object to that. Nothing further.
All right. I'm going to order $3,000 signature bond through pretrial, level 1, 2-day anger awareness course through pretrial, no further violent contact with the victim, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons, unprescribed medication, or guns while on bond.
Your
And
Honor,
that's
there are
it.
2 charges. How do you want to break it down?
2,500 on the battery and 500 on the cruelty. Next, or is that it?
We do have position number 8, Sean, you done.
Number 8.
Yeah, but I believe Mr. McLean, he's gone for today. When he went to interview him, he said he was gonna do a MHET for Mr. Harry Head.
Uh-huh. All right. If he's, I don't know what's going on, Mr. Cook.
I'm not sure, Your Honor. That was not.
I mean, he didn't say yet we had a waiver.
No, I knew he was coming to the jail to specifically deal with Mr. Head, but I haven't talked to him beyond that today.
Yeah, and Mr. Harry Head, he's in psych ops, so we couldn't bring him down.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess set him to tomorrow.
Yeah, just move him over to tomorrow.
So the defense can waive Riverside at this point. He's got a $600 surety bond. He was arrested on the 13th and has been reset since Saturday.
Yeah, I don't anticipate anybody trying to invoke that.
Why don't you go ahead and waive it?
We'll waive it.
Okay.
Although it's technically his to waive it, but we'll waive it. That's fine. That's not going to happen. Okay, we'll waive it.
No, it's not his to waive at this point. The
Okay.
mental
No,
health and medical issue that's been.
I got you.
making
It's
issue.
waived. It's waived.
So that's it.
Yeah.
All right, Holly, please lead us.
You want me to lead
Thank
you
you,
in
guys.
prayer?
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Norris. Deputy Norris,
Yes.
what time did you get there this morning?
7 o'clock on the dot.
Oh, no, I thought you said 6:35.
I tried, but traffic kind of ate up that time, so.
Just messing with you. See you the next day. Day after.
All right.
All right, bye.
Okay, Mr. Howard asked me to lead us, and I wanted to know, is that in prayer or over this calendar? I'm willing to do them
right?
both. I'll do them both.
A little bit of both, right?
We could probably use the former more than the latter.
former more than the latter, yeah.
Okay, once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is October the 1st. Position number 1 on the regular calendar is reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. Position 2 is going to the SAP calendar. Did I say reset further notice on 1? If I didn't, it's reset further notice. On position number 2, SAP calendar with a $3,000 good bond. Position 3, SAP calendar with a total $2,000 bond. 4, SAP calendar with a total $2,500 good bond. Position 5, SAP calendar with a $10,000 good bond. 6, reset to the SAP calendar with a total $5,000 good bond. 7, SAP calendar with a $10,000 good bond. 8 is going to be rescheduled till tomorrow. 9, SAP calendar with a total $3,000 good bond. 10, SAP calendar with a $3,000 cash bond. 11 is reset further notice with a total $2,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. 12, reset further notice with a total $2,000 SOB through the jail. 13, reset further notice with a $4,000 SOB through pretrial. 14 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $4,000 cash bond. 15, SAP calendar with a total $4,000 good bond. 1 is reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial. I have to come back through my paperwork and give you number 2 on this add-on. Going to number 3, it is a reset further notice with a $2,500 SOB through pretrial. 4, $2,000 SOB through pretrial.
Hey, I didn't have number 2 either.
Huh?
It's
I didn't
2,000,
have number 2 either.
2,000 SOB jail.
Okay.
Okay, so there we have it, people. Are there any questions, comments, or otherwise?
Nope.
No? All right. I
See you
led
guys
you.
on
There you go.
Thursday. Yeah.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody.
Thank you, everybody. I'll be out
Alright.
until next week, so
I know, you're
Oh,
getting a
good for
break.
you. Enjoy. I hope it's
Yeah.
something good. Good for
I'm
you.
coming back and I'm gonna not look great, but I will be great. So
You're
gonna
don't
be
judge
wonderful.
me.
gonna be great.
That's
You're
right.
gonna be
Okay.
just absolutely wonderful.
That's right.
Yep. Take care, dear.
See you guys
Yeah.
next week.
All
Okay.
right.
Leon, are you here
Bye-bye.
tomorrow?
No.
Okay.
You know who's on
That
tomorrow?
was the side eye. No, I'm Thursday and Friday. Tomorrow will be law.
Okay.
Well, okay.
Man,
Yeah.
this has been a long week. Is it
It's
only?
been a long week. Well, at
getting-
least the Falcons won last night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, don't sound so excited.
Well, it was an odd game, but a win's a win.
It was an odd game. You're correct about that. Yes. All right, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
All right.
All
Bye-bye.
right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.